Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're gonna recreate from scratch just by using Ableton Start plugin a great growling techno stab that sounds like this. So you can hear this sound particularly. Alright, so the idea is to tell you what makes this sound stand and as well give you some tips along that you can use to kind of create your own one from that preset. Now let's dig into it and let's create a new MIDI track, and we're gonna load up Wavetable. So one of the main things with this kind of growling stab is to, preferably you don't need to, but use the sawtooth waveform that we're gonna play at a lower note. So here we're gonna play with D0 and that's gonna give this low growling note already. So we're gonna go to basic and saw dual and make sure we are at 0% and playing low note. Second important thing is to use a bandpass filter, because this bandpass filter is gonna just select a certain frequency range, and when you're gonna modulate this filter with envelope quite fastly, it's gonna create this growling effect. So we're gonna choose our bandpass filter 24 dB and we're gonna use the OSR because we want to add a bit of drive. Speaking of drive, we're gonna add 5-6 dB. This is really up to you. Then we're gonna bring our filter around 100 Hz because the idea is to obviously modulate it with an envelope. And final setting is to use the resonance to accentuate this growling effect. So we're gonna go around 50% for the resonance. You can experiment with this resonance frequency and drive to get different tones if you want something more pronounced or not. Now obviously it doesn't really happen nothing because we need to modulate this filter, but before that we're gonna just shape the amplitude envelope. As it's a stab sound, we want something with no sustain, and we can leave the release around 600 milliseconds and maybe a bit more decay. This depends as well how long you want you stab. Now we need to modulate this filter, so we're gonna go to matrix. The filter doesn't appear, so you just click on the filter, so this way it appears here, and it's gonna be modulated by envelope 2, and we're gonna modulate by 25%. You don't want something too strong because otherwise, as it's a bandpass filter, it's gonna kind of sound weird because it's just select one frequency band. But you can hear we already get this growling effect. Now we can reshape a little bit envelope 2, same way done with the amp envelope with no sustain. And then the release you can leave it at 600 and the decay around 1.5 seconds. So you see what's happening is your filters quickly going up just to cut some higher frequency and then going back slowly. Now here we are pretty good with the sound. What we want is to make it maybe a little bit more stereo. So you can use chorus or you can use unison. And here we're gonna use the classic unison with 3 voice and a bit more dry wet. We're gonna go around 40%. So again, you can experiment. The more you will add voice, the more it will be detuned and less clear the sound will be. So if you want something like clear and sharp, don't go too much on voice. But again, you feel free to experiment and try what works for you. All right, we have a good sound now. Obviously, we need to kind of boost it, make it a little bit more beefier. Usually with this growling type of sound, amp work really well because it's gonna add this bite to your sound and make it a bit more crunchy. So we're gonna go to amp, we're gonna set the clean mode, I'm gonna put it in dual because we still want our stereo. Now again, you can crank up things until you want. If you want more high, you bring up the treble. That's really up to you. You can adjust the presence a little bit and maybe reduce the volume and the dry wet to keep a bit of that dry signal with and without. Great, now we can EQ a little bit just really to boost this high frequency. So we can use the low shelf. You can go around 300 Hz and just kind of boost everything by 3-4 dB. And I like to use a low pass filter just up until 10 Hz. I'm just gonna reduce the gain because we're gonna have some gain because of the EQ. Okay, great. Now we can add a bit of ping pong delay to make things move a little bit. So I'm gonna desync and put 1 in 2 and 3 and crank down the feedback. It's a stab. We don't want something too long in the time, like that lasts too long because it's just gonna mess up with the rest of your mix, and it's not really necessary in that case. And then we leave in ping pong, maybe the filter a bit more like around 1 kHz, slightly reduce. And then again, and then the other amount you can leave it more or less around 30%. Now our signal is a bit dry, we need to add a bit of reverb. We want a reverb that's gonna give a bit of color, so we're gonna use the hybrid reverb and we're gonna use the convolution. You can really play with different type of convolution, they all give different tone characters, some are more messier than others. For this preset I use Real Place and I use the Monarch Church. Really nice. And another thing you can play with is decay and size to slightly experiment. It's gonna change the tone a bit of your reverb. So here I reduce to around 5 seconds and slightly reduce the size. Alright, and then I will play with the EQ always boost, maybe around 1 kilo, have a high shelf, and probably a low cut as well. Around that, and then we can just adjust a bit of the stereo, make sure the bass is in mono, and maybe reduce the dry rate around 30% as well. So we have a great sound. Now we need to kind of put it more in your face and make it louder and more compact. One of the tricks I like to use is to use drum bus at the end of the chain, because you can use the compressor to kind of compress everything. You can adjust trim if you really want things loud, it's your input signal. And I will crank up the drive. Crank up the crunch a little bit like a crazy. And then I will use transient negatively to kind of reduce the tail of the reverb. And yeah, that's pretty much it. As usual, the preset is available for free, the link in the description. This preset was part of my Wavetable Techno Bang 4. If you wanna grab it, I will put the link in the description. It's a great way to support me. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you soon. Bye bye.